Hello, friends. This is Adam Kirtley, the chaplain here at Whitman College. I hope this message finds you well. This week, I'm reminded of a story of my experience as a junior at Wabash College, where I was in school, and I spent my junior year studying abroad in Europe. And over the spring break trip, I did, like so many people do, I took that month and got a Euro pass and traveled around Europe. I was with a very dear friend of mine, and we were using the "Let's Go Europe" book as sort of our guide to the continent, and taking pointers about what to do and see in every city. We made our way to Prague. This is the early 90s, and so it was sort of a new frontier for many Westerners. It was incredibly beautiful and incredibly inexpensive part of our journey, and had just a phenomenal time there. But when we had got off the train, our Let's Go Europe guide book had told us that it would be safe in this place, as opposed to other places around Europe, that if we were approached in the train station by someone who offered us a place to stay for a relatively little amount of money, that you can do that safely, and so we did. And we were driven to a home that seemed to be in a nondescript neighborhood, not necessarily sort of in the heart of the city. And we dropped off our gear, and hopped on a bus, and made it into downtown Prague. Um, we then made a series of really dumb decisions, and the first one was we got back on a bus to return to our house that we were staying in. And we got back on this bus without 100% certainty that it was the right bus, and it wasn't. And the way we learned that was that it just took us further and further away from anything recognizable. And in fact, it sort of started to take us out into the country. No one spoke English. We weren't sure what to do. And so we made our second bad decision, which was to go ahead and get off the bus at that time, out in the middle of nowhere. By this time, it was quite dark, and we were walking along sort of a country road in a nondescript area of Prague. And we saw, sort of sitting off of the road, a little roadhouse tavern, and walked in. And my memory, I'm sure, is a little bit hyperbolic, but it seemed like there was just only men, all sort of large and unimpressed with us, about seven or eight of them. It felt like a record came to a screeching halt when we walked in, and all eyes were on us. And I sort of feebly and sheepishly asked if anybody spoke English. And a man waved me over to his table, and I put my map out in front of him, and I knew on the map where I wanted to be, but I just wasn't sure on the map where I was. And I was hoping that we could be given some directions. And the man laid the map out on the table, and he flattened it out, and then he put his finger about 6 inches away from the map onto the actual table, and he looked at us, and he said, in his thick Eastern European accent, "You need to go back to Prague." And this was the first time we realized that we actually weren't in Prague anymore. And so we had a long, ultimately safe, but felt like a harrowing night of slowly making our way back to this house that we were staying in. And I tell the story because it's one of the most profound experiences in my life of being utterly lost. And I have the sense that many of you right now must feel like you've gotten on the wrong bus somehow, and have been taken away from what you thought, the path of the journey that you thought that you were on. And it is a deeply unsettling feeling. There is a sense in which I think some of the greatest and most influential journeys on our lives are ones that we can't always predict. But I realize that that's little solace these days, when it feels like there's just so much uncertainty ahead of you. I believe I have I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic that we will make our way back to this path at some point, and it may not be exactly as we plan. It may certainly not be as soon as we'd like. But I hope that that you as students know that your faculty and your staff, to the best of their ability, are wanting to be um, guides along that path and along that journey for you. We are anxious to be walking alongside you just as soon as we can in physical space, but know that until then, we are thinking of ways to help you experience that support, even if it's from a distance. So again, next week I'll deliver one more reflection just before commencement and sort of the formal closing of the year. But until then, please know that I'm thinking of you. Please don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything I can do, if you'd like to be in conversation with me. So please take care of yourselves and each other, and I look forward to seeing you around soon.